Hey folks, it's a new year, so you know what that means. It's gonna be a new top 10 list, even though I didn't do one last year or the year before. But hey, new year, new me. I'm gonna be running in like Aaron Rodgers running into his first game on a brand new team. That went well, right?
It did not go well.
And while compiling this list of this year's games, I was really amazed how much things have changed. I mean, the games are new, the people I'm playing with are new, but I don't feel like I've changed that much. Maybe the people I'm playing with have changed me, or maybe the games have just gotten better. I can't say that for sure though, because a lot of these games have been around for quite some time. But the new people I'm playing with, maybe they've changed the way I think about these games. Now, it felt strange taking out some wonderful games from my top 10 from before, but I had to put them in the closet. Forget about those because we have to make room for a new top 10 list. For those other games, I think I'll make a video covering all of those, why I've taken them out or why they're no longer have captured my attention. So a couple details first before we get into it. There are no legacy games here. There are no disposable games here, such as escape rooms, one-time use games, and a couple other facts that I like to include that maybe influenced my top 10 was my favorite playtime is 90 minutes. What's yours? My favorite player count is 3. What's yours? I think that just about covers it. Now we can move on to the actual top 10. And I've asked a few of my board game buddies to help me introduce each of these games, starting with number 10.
Jesse has played a lot of games.
So to start off this list, here's number 10.
First up on my list at number 10 is the Champions of Midgard. In this game, the Jarl has just died, and you and the other players are competing to see who becomes the next Jarl, the leader of the town. It's a 2 to 5 player game, plays in about 1 to 2 hours. It's a worker placement game, but also you're taking on big bad guys that are constantly trying to conquer the town, trying to prove that you are the one deserving to be the next Jarl. I really like this game. It holds up for a long time, but I would only recommend it if you play with all of the expansions, especially the Valhalla expansion. I always have to explain that whenever I'm talking about this game because by itself, it would be nowhere near my top 10. But with the Valhalla expansion, this game comes in at number 10 on my top 10. Now it has dropped from last year's, or the last time I did a top 10, and I can explain that in my other video that talks about the other games that have left my top 10.
Next on the list, number 6. Number 9.
Number 9 is a new addition to my top 10 list. I had to think a lot about whether I even wanted it to be on there, but the way I thought is if I want to keep playing it, and I keep thinking about it after I'm done playing, it deserves to be as part of my top 10. And that number 9 is Dune Imperium. Now, since I have Dune Uprising, I haven't played it, but I've heard it's very similar. I don't know if that would knock this out for next year, but for now we're just going to focus on Dune Imperium. I do have both of the expansion, Rise of Ix and Immortality, but honestly, even at its base game, it's still a game I really enjoy. And in fact, they just came out with a digital version of it, and I gotta say, the digital version does it well. It doesn't throw too many bells and whistles at it, like some other games have. It's simply Dune Imperium on your PC, and I could play it on my own over and over again. So I've gotten to do that many times, but Dune Imperium blends deck building, blends a little bit of area control, and it does it in a nice package. And the spice in this game, it's irresistible.
So, I'm Amanda, and I put the number 8 in my username because it is a very lucky number in the Chinese superstitious. And Chinese are very superstitious. So this is Jesse's number 8 favorite game of all time.
My number 8 game kind of surprised me it was even on this list, but I kept thinking about it, and once again, that makes a great game. And it is a new addition. It is Ark Nova. And this is a game from Capstone Games, plays up to 4 players in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. This game, I keep thinking about it because it's on Board Game Arena and allows me to keep playing this game. This is a game that has me eager to figure out how to complete the puzzle in front of me. And when it comes to games that use these giant stack of cards, like Terraforming Mars, I think this is the best of them. If you have a different opinion, I would love to know what other stack of cards games. It's a weird way of describing it, I know, but that's what I think of is like random stack of cards. What can you do with it? Art Nova seems to do it well. Makes me feel like I'm building a zoo. I have my enclosures and everything like that. I have the landscape in front of me. So it takes kind of an abstract looking zoo, but makes it feel enough like a zoo that makes me want to have the best zoo in Art Nova. My number 8.
My number 7 is the Oracle of Delphi. What is your number 7 of all time?
Now, although my number 8, number 9, number 10, they're all really light on theme, this one I think has the most theme. And it's my number 7, and that's Nemesis. In Nemesis, you have woken up on this ship. You have no memory of the layout of the ship, and you discover that one of your teammates or one of your crew are dead, but you don't know why. So you spend your time exploring the ship, and those that have played the game know why. It's aliens, and so you have to figure out what your goal is and get off the ship or take the ship down, whatever your goal happens to be. It plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 2, in my honest opinion, up to 4 hours to play. But it doesn't feel like it's 4 hours, and that's what's great about Nemesis, is that you feel like you've experienced an entire film going through the story of Nemesis. And the ones afterwards have done a really great job at doing the same, like Lockdown. And then they have a third one in the works. But this one, the base game, Nemesis, the original is always the best, right? When it comes to trilogies like Back to the Future. I really like it. The production's great, which will come into play later when I talk about a later game, how production has increased my love of a game. But number 7 is Nemesis.
The former TLN champ of Can't Stop asked me to introduce number 6. So here is Jesse's number 6.
Former. That still stings. My number 6 has survived all this time. Coming from my other top 10, my number 6 is Werewords. It's somewhere in there. I think it's in the bottom, the yellow one. In Werewords, a couple players are a werewolf, maybe even just one, and the other players are all villagers, and you're trying to figure out who is the werewolf. I know that sounds like Ultimate Werewolf, but there's a twist. There's a word also in play. You're playing a sort of 20 questions at the same time. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it really works. If you haven't tried Werewords, try it if you like word games and you like social deduction. Werewords is a nice balance of both. I've had people who don't like social deduction like Werewords, or someone who doesn't like word games, but they like social deduction games, and it's a place where both people can get along, or all people can get along. Werewords, try it at your next convention.
Hey friends, number 17, Shohei Ohtani is the greatest ball player ever. And here is the number 5 greatest board game ever.
My number 5 might be the smallest box aside from the last game. Second smallest box in this top 10, and that is Paladins of the West Kingdom. Yes, this also survived from the last top 10. This game still holds up. Shockingly, I have not played the expansion yet, even though I do have it. But Paladins of the West Kingdom, well, honestly, I'm afraid to get the expansion out. Let me know if you've played the expansion, because the base game is just so good that when someone wants to play this, I'm like, we'll just play the regular game, Paladins of the West Kingdom. It's my favorite of the West Kingdom games. It's my favorite of the Garfield games. They're still rolling out new games all the time, but I always come back to Paladins, and that's why it's on my top 10 at number 5.
The following announcement has been paid for by iHeart Board Games. Heart Board Games, number 4. 444 Life.
Now, I mentioned earlier that a great production will definitely catch my eye and possibly put a thing into my top 10. But not only does this game have a great production, it's also a great game. And this is Rococo Deluxe Edition. In this Deluxe Edition, it takes about 2 hours to play, 1 to 5 players. You are a dressmaker, making dresses and suits for folks going to a ball. You are not going to it. You're staying home. You're making suits and dresses. But you don't mind, because all the party goers are going to tell you how great your dresses and your suits were. This is a game of hand management and going through multiple rounds. It's just such a beautiful game. All the pieces are wonderful in this deluxe edition. I actually haven't played the old edition, but I'm glad it was so good enough to recreate it in the deluxe edition, which is a new addition to my top 10 at number 4.
Only got 3 words to say to you. I heart board games. In this context, I'm saying board game is 1 word. It's maybe 2. I never have known. I'm too scared to look it up.
Number 3 is another game from my past top 10, and this is Istanbul, except this time it's in a big box. Because it comes with all the bells and whistles, I've upgraded all the pieces inside as well, just to give it that deluxe feel, because I feel like a game like Istanbul will never come back with a deluxe edition. But I'm happy to play it. Plays with 2 to 5 players, plays in about 90 minutes. And Istanbul is a game I can play over and over again because there is a digital version, which has a big impact on whether I really like a game or not. It's the ability to experience it over and over and over again and not get sick of it. However, I think the people around me have gotten sick of it. I can't get this game played at a table. No one will play it with me. I guess they don't want to lose. Yeah, that's it. Or maybe they're just not as big of fans as I am. I really like Istanbul because it's a racing game. But I really haven't gotten to experience the expansions as much as I would have liked to. I know people say they are good, but they're not part of the digital version. So I'm hoping someday I'll get to experience all of them over and over again. But Istanbul stays in my top 10 at number 3, this time in a big box.
Here's the thing. It's game number 2. We all know that. It's not as good as game number 1, but it's still great. It's still number 2. Nothing wrong with silver. Although Ricky Bobby did tell us you're not first, you're last. So maybe this game is trash. It can't be trash. It's number 2, and Jesse's great. So there's no way this game's trash, right? I don't know. Here's number 2. It's probably great.
Number 2 has definitely moved up because of the special edition, and that's Castles of Burgundy Special Edition from Awakened Realms, of course. This game takes it to the next level for me. The very, very nice way to play it. And it also has a great digital playthrough on Board Game Arena. There's so much influence for Castles of Burgundy to be in your life that whenever they came out with this, it was a no-brainer to back it, no matter the cost. I hate to say that because they know it's no matter the cost. That's why they keep raising the costs. But I like everything that comes in this box. In fact, I'm really excited to try everything in this box because there is so much. I've played with a lot of the expansions, but I've yet to play the co-op version. I've yet to play the solo version. I'm not a big solo player, but with a game like Castles of Burgundy, I think I might be. But I expected you to already know things about Castles of Burgundy. It's a 1 to 4 player game where everyone is building up their estate, starting with the castles and building out from there. It's a Steffenfeld game, which means it's point salad. It's a Euro. It's the most Euro-y Euro to Euro. So if you're not into that, it might not be for you. Not super thematic, but you're just building buildings out and you're trying to be the best one to do so. But Castles of Burgundy Special Edition, all these pieces in the box are acrylic. There's hardly any cardboard in here, which is really cool. Bad for the environment, but really cool. And the new art and everything else in this box is just so beautiful. I think I gotta open it and play it right now. No, I gotta show you number 1, that's right. So this is number 2, the Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. Now before I get back over there and finish my top 10, there are some honorable mentions such as Glucks, which was on my top 10 from before, Letters from Whitechapel, which was on my top 10 from before, Skull, Heat, Thunder Road Vendetta, Mansions of Madness, also from my top 10 from before. I have so many reasons that these aren't in my top 10 anymore, but I need to mention those in another video. So make sure you subscribe here so you don't miss that discussion. Now back to the number 1.
And finally, number 1.
I don't know, Snow Bunny. Jesse's saying that I'm too far away from the thing. I'm supposed to zoom in or something like that. Do you know how to work this thing?
Believe it or not, that was the best take. And now we're here. Number 1. What could it be? If you've seen my number 1 from before and noticed it's not on the list, well, I've taken it off. I'm kidding, it's right here. It's Orleans. It is a 2 to 4 player game at 90 minutes from Tasty Minstrel Games, which is now from Capstone Games. But I still have the old Tasty Minstrel version, and it even plays up to 5 if you have the expansion to do that. It just does a lot of things right. It makes you anticipate your next turn, which is a wonderful thing. It has a set amount of rounds, which tells you here's the end, here's the beginning, here's all the things that'll be happening throughout, but you don't know the order of it. It lets you prepare your board in a certain way. It's just so good. I haven't gotten it to the table in quite some time, but I've had some people curious about it, so I know it's going to come out again. I've considered dropping it from my top spot, but I still really like it. The thing that might be a dent against it is sometimes the setup is too long. And lately, I think publishers are catching on that setup matters. But like I did with Istanbul, there's ways to deluxify that to reduce your setup time, and that's probably something I need to do with this. I'm hoping maybe Capstone Games comes out with some sort of big box Orleans, because I think that would help fix my problem with it, which Istanbul came out with a big box, and I tricked that thing out to where the setup is really fast now. This one still takes a bit of time, but it's still staying at my number 1 because I really enjoy it. If you like this as well, or if you've liked any of the top 10 games that I've mentioned, let me know what you think about them. Let me know if something thematically has fit one of my top 10 games that you're like, oh, if you like this, like Orleans, you need to try this because it's pretty close, or maybe it does things even better. I need to be informed. There's thousands of games out there. I have around 600, which you can see in the video where I counted all of my games. Of course, since then, Black Friday has happened, so my count has gone up significantly. But thanks for watching. Until next time, the box is closed.